And our next speaker, the last one for this session before the coffee break, is Amador Pérez, also coming from the ICN2. And the title of the talk is going to be LightNET, an artificial photosynthesis for roads that sucks CO2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the nice introduction. I would like first to thank also the organizing committee for this nice opportunity and for this nice venue and this organization. So thank you very much. I'm going to present today a work we carry here in the ICN2 that involve several groups in the Institute. The groups of José Garrido, of Gustavo Catalán, of Jordi Arbiol, José Santiso. And it's a collaboration also with a Spanish company, with one of the main building companies, which is Comsa Corporación, which is seated in Barcelona. Well, I'm going to start with a striking fact that we are going to, among the many problems we are going to face in this 21st century, is that we are going to face more urbanization in the last part of the century than for all the previous history. That means a lot of cement, a lot of concrete, a lot of materials, and a lot of asphalt. And this adds pressure to the problematic of the global warming, which is due to the emission of greenhouse gases. And many of that industries that we need to build the cities are greatly responsible of many of these emissions. So we need actions to try to reduce the amount of CO2 that we emit to the atmosphere, but also we need to rethink about the processes we use to build that kind of materials and the city itself. And it's one of the, in fact, it's one of the climatic, it's one of the United Nations sustainable goals, number 11, which are sustainable cities. Well, we may say that we have 4 options to try to face that challenge of the global warming. First, we can try to mitigate our technologies. For example, moving from using fossil fuels to renewables or to a more electrification. We can simply adapt our infrastructures to prevent and minimize climate change. We can try to act proactive attitude and try to use negative emission technologies or technologies that are able to reduce the CO2 concentration directly from the atmosphere. And maybe the last one is to use techniques to control the solar radiation or the albedo of the atmosphere. And by reducing the atmospheric CO2 concentrations, the negative emission technologies still addresses the root causes of the climate change and mitigation options. So there are several negative emission technologies. We can mostly join in sorry, I missed the number. The numbers are 7. Yeah, there are bioenergy with carbon capture and storage. They are maybe the cheapest and more natural, which is the afforestation and reforestation. There are options for direct carbon capture and storage. There is enhanced weathering, ocean fertilization, biochar, and soil carbon sequestration. And now I'm going to focus on the direct carbon capture and storage. In fact, there is no magic solution for CO2 for CO2 abatement. In fact, all these techniques that I have mentioned before has their pros and cons. For example, afforestation is perhaps the cheapest, but we need a lot of area, and we need a lot of water, which may impact on the food security, for example. Direct air capture is an option. In fact, is a more reasonable option. In fact, that you taking into account that you need a smaller space, but in general, you also need quite a high level of investment. Well, which is our proposal within this framework? Basically, what we are proposing is to use certain solid surfaces which are able to capture CO2 enhanced by light. So just in the same way, plants make photosynthesis, transforming carbon dioxide and oxygen into carbohydrates. We have observed that there are certain materials that can capture carbon dioxide and convert it into carbonates. So we first observe that phenomena in a certain class of perovskite oxides, which are lead titanate, which has a perovskite structure. And we observe that when they are both in CO2-rich atmosphere or in air, if you are illuminating such surface, you may see how the amount of lead carbonate, which is a cerussite structure, improve when illuminated, when you have some deficiency of the B cation. So the carbonate species can be introduced within the structure with an enhanced rate under illumination. But it is obvious that we cannot address any environmental problem with anything that is based on lead. So the first thing we consider is to replace the chemistry of the perovskite. Instead of using lead, using calcium, which is a much more eco-friendly material, and in fact is calcium carbonate is the base of building materials, mortars, and concretes. And we actually did that. And the other thing that was mandatory in order to make this technology reasonable to be used as a potential technique for negative emission technology is to try to make this technology as cheaper and as available as possible. And we develop some very straightforward water bus slurry with these materials, and we test them outdoor, and we actually demonstrated that this kind of perovskite oxides within some mixture with calcium oxide are trapping more CO2 under illumination than without illumination. And afterwards, we use these materials to create smart urban surfaces that were able to trap CO2. For example, here we cover asphalt concrete samples and also ballast, which are the granite from the train tracks, which are present on the train tracks. And this is an example of the kind of surfaces or urban surfaces that we aim to cover with this solution. So as a conclusion, as a value proposition of what we think that this solution can be implemented, we think that can be implemented as a solution for eco-friendly materials and smart cities, within the building and construction sector, within the energy production sector, and in solutions which involve closing the CO2 loop. And well, for example, as a surface, as a top surface in roads, which is the project in particular we were developing with COMSA. As a facade cover or deposited like a paint within buildings. It can be naturally integrated with photovoltaics in the sense that both solar cells and this solution deals with sunlight. And also we think that can be implemented in systems where the CO2 regenerations take place. And this is all. Thank you for your attention. I forgot to mention the help of the business and innovation development. Business and innovation department of DCN2, which has helped a lot to the development of this product. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Amador, for the nice presentation and work.
Thank you.
Time for question or comments?
Thank you very much for the talk, Amador. Very, very nice. I have one question, and is the sustainability of the perovskite with PV. So are you planning, how is it a problem to develop this product, to commercialize this product, and how can be it addressed in case it is?
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think this, maybe I'm making some self-immolation here, but I think you're completely right. I think this is something that we have not solved because to produce carbon negative surfaces, you need first to produce these materials in a carbon neutral way. So it is true that the materials are abundant, but still you need some meaning, and you need a large amount of material. So my first question is that perhaps is some of the materials which are cheaper and more eco-friendly, but still we need to address how to produce these materials in a more sustainable way.
Thank you very much for the honest reply.
Thank you very much.
Is there any other question? No, I think in here neither. Okay, I have one myself last for this session. So you rely that the CO2 enters into the pores of the material.
Yes.
But you integrate the material into different matrices, and this may block the entrance of CO2 into the porous material.
Yes.
Have you considered it?
Yes, exactly. The diffusion of the CO2 depends on the porosity. So, of course, the larger the porosity, the larger is the diffusion rate. So if you end up with surfaces which has almost no porosity, then the diffusion rate is much slower. Yes, it's true.
Okay. Anyway, thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much.
If there are no more questions, I would like first to Amador and to the rest of the speakers of this morning for the nice presentation that we have. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much.